Wow, Batman, what a week it's been. My goodness gracious. America, you went to the polls on Tuesday, you voted, and Donald J. Trump will be the 45th president of the United States. I'm telling you, this election could go down as one of the most bizarre elections in history. And unfortunately, it has polarized our country. But I'll tell you what, I, for one, am glad it's over. I got so sick and tired of the commercials constantly. But it's behind us. And you know what? It doesn't matter whether you're happy about it or whether you're angry about it. It doesn't even matter if you're just plain embarrassed about it. All Americans are concerned about what this will mean for our country and our economy. And all Americans are concerned about what this will mean for their financial security. But we've got a new president. And some things will never change. When you retire, you will still need to turn your savings and investments into income. You're still going to need to pay for your health care and medical expenses, and you're still going to need to pay your taxes, and you'll still need to make your money last as long as you do. None of these things are going to change or go away. The question is, what are you going to do about it? You've got a choice. You can wring your hands and do nothing and suffer the consequences, or you can take steps to help protect everything you've worked for. So in today's show, we're going to talk about some potential financial consequences of a Trump presidency, and some actionable ideas that you can take advantage of for your investments. But first, I want to talk about yesterday, and I'm so proud of the community and what they did in terms of our sponsorship of Hope for the Warriors, our charity. So yesterday in Clemens, as many of you know, we started a sponsorship of Hope for the Warriors charity, which is basically a charity based in Jacksonville, Jacksonville, North Carolina. It's a homegrown North Carolina charity. And what they do is they help our veterans transition from military service into civilian life, and they take all aspects of it. But we had Gunny Smitty come out, and he was selling 250 hot dogs at $10 a pop and donated 3 of the 10 to the charity. We had people stop by. I got some shout-outs I got to give to some folks. The Clemens Fire Department, Fire Station number 14, and Captain Jerry Brooks. Hey, guys, thank you so much for what you did yesterday with the truck and the flag and everything. You just really kind of made the event. And then some folks I want to give a shout-out to as well. I want to give a shout-out to a company here in the area, Rhino Sports with Brett Hickman. They donated over $200 to the charity, and they also help our veterans because what Rhino does is they provide ushers and so forth to sporting events for Wake Forest, Duke, and Virginia Tech, and some other things. So you vets out there, if you're looking for a nice little part-time gig, get on Rhino Sports' website and take a look at it. It could be a way to earn a little jingle in your pocket and see some good games coming up too. But yeah, we just had a great time with that event, and I'll tell you what, we're going to do it again. I'm going to give some more shout-outs later as we get into the show, but I want to get back to a Trump presidency and what the heck that's going to mean. You know, it was interesting when I was watching the election results come in Tuesday night. We were sitting there like most of you into the wee hours of the morning, and as I watched the Florida returns come in, I was bouncing around between Fox Business and some of the other stations, but I kind of settled it on Fox Business because I like Lou Dobbs and I like Neil Cavuto, and I like the way they kind of did, brought the business and the financial sense into the election. But coming into the Florida returns, as those returns started growing for Trump, I noticed the Dow futures, the S&P futures, were just cratering. You know, at one time they were down by 300 points and 400 points, and I turned to my wife, Sherry, and I said, oh, my gosh, I think he's going to do this. And she goes, well, what do you mean? I said, well, look at the futures. They're huge down. And she goes, well, doesn't that mean Hillary's going to win? And I said, no. Remember, folks, if you remember on this show about a month ago, I told you that one way you could determine who was going to win is watch the stock market. And what happened? Well, shortly after that, Comey came out and said, hey, we're going to look at more emails. And what happened? We had 9 days of down stock market returns in a row. That hadn't happened in over 36 years. And then lo and behold, what happens? is Comey comes out and says, hey, nothing's changed. So then, boom, the market shoots right up again until the returns started coming in Tuesday night. And when the Dow was down over 800 points at one time, I just knew that we were going to have a Trump presidency. Amazing, amazing stuff. All right, so what does it mean to have Mr. Trump in the White House? Well, fundamentally, nothing has changed with the economy, with the debt situation. Honestly, I think Mr. Trump's going to have a rough couple years ahead of him. And there's precedent for this. If we go back to Ronald Reagan when he took over as president, do you remember those years? Those first 2 years of Ronald Reagan were pretty dadgum tough. Remember what was going on then? We had some of the highest interest rates we've ever seen in this country. And it was done on purpose because we had inflation. Paul Volcker, the head of the Fed at that time, jacked interest rates up to crush inflation. And it took a couple years, and Mr. Reagan was not very popular during that first couple years. But then things got right. And I think, and I believe if Donald Trump will come in and surround himself with seasoned advisors, people who have in the know about the economy and the free market and so forth, I think we're going to get through this. I don't think we're going to get through it without a bloody nose or two, but I'm more optimistic now than I have been in quite a while. So I think you've got a tough market ahead of us. I think the next couple of years are going to be tough, but I think we're going to get through it just fine. Well, if you just tuned in, this is the Wealth Guardian Show, and today we're talking about a new president, Donald J. Trump, President-elect of the United States, and how it could impact your money and your investments. I can't guarantee you much of anything in my position, but I can guarantee you a few things. Life's going to go on, and I guarantee you'll still need to generate income in retirement. I guarantee you're still going to be able to need to pay for health care. And I guarantee you're going to need to pay those taxes, and so on and so forth. But let me prove how you can make your money go further in retirement with our customized 5-point retirement master plan. Don't let an event like the election or Brexit or the next Fed announcement or anything else control your money or your retirement. The time is now for you to take control. And if you've saved at least $100,000 for retirement, we can share some little-known strategies that could show you how to make the very most out of every dollar you've saved for retirement. And there's no cost to you. There's no obligation on your part either. It's only your time, your investment in time. So to schedule that appointment, be one of the first 10 callers right now at 336-391-3409. That's 336-391-3409. All right, let's get back to talking about how a President Trump administration will change things or what could potentially happen down the road. Like I said a moment ago, he's going to have, I think, a tough first couple of years. Change is always met with resistance. I think Donald Trump was elected because, if you remember the last few weeks of the campaign, one of his slogans was drain the swamp. Elect us and we're going to drain the swamp. I think he's got to do that. I think there's a lot of draining to be done there, to be quite honest with you, and that will be encouraging to see. But it's going to be change, and change is difficult, and the way people react to that change will be interesting indeed. Now, if he gets in office and he isn't if he's not a change agent, then I think you're going to see a lot of turmoil and upset people. I think you're also going to see some interesting happenings with Mexico. I think that wall's going to get built. I don't believe that he will go around and try to round up 12 million Hispanic folks and ship them back. I just don't think that's a job that is reality. It is going to be incredibly difficult to round up that many people. But I do believe he will put a stop to this open civil border we have, and that is long-term, big-time positive. It's not just positive from the illegal immigrant standpoint, but we've got a huge problem with drugs coming through that border, and I think that's going to go a long way to stopping those illegal drugs. But again, it's going to be a situation where we've got a Republican House, a Republican Senate, and a Republican president, and we haven't had that combination in quite some time. Hopefully, the House and the Senate can work with Mr. Trump. I was very pleased by the acceptance speech that he made after the election Tuesday night. He was a different Donald, and I think you're going to see. I think you're going to see more of that. What else can happen in a Trump presidency? Well, one of the big things is the Supreme Court. He has at least one seat that he has to nominate, and that's Anthony Scalia's seat. And probably in the next 4 years, there's going to be a couple more come open. And that is, in my mind, one of the biggest reasons why I voted for him, is for that Supreme Court. Because that Supreme Court, what the next 4 or 8 years of this term does, is going to have a 30-plus year impact on this country, our children and our grandchildren, maybe even our great-grandchildren. So anyway, today we're talking about this week, what a crazy week it was. This is the Wealth Guardian Show here on 94.5 WPTI. I'll be right back after this quick break. And welcome back to the Wealth Guardian Show. My name is Doug Ray, and today we've been talking about what a Donald Trump administration will look like and how it may impact your finances, your retirement, our economy, and so forth. But before we get back to that, I got some more shout-outs I got to give. We had an incredible event yesterday in Clemens where we hosted a charity called Hope for the Warriors and raise some money for them. I would encourage you to go to their website, hopeforthewarriors.org. Take a look at all the great works that they do. They help our veterans transition from military life into civilian life, and those veterans that may need physical, medical help, mental help, retraining, you name it. It runs the entire gamut, and they do an outstanding job. But some shout-outs to some folks who really stepped up in a big way to help this great charity out. Dr. Jack Lawrence and his wife, Debbie. They made a very generous donation in honor of their dads, Jack Lawrence and James T. Lawhorn. David and English Rowe of Smith Rowe made a very generous donation. Dave is the mayor of Mount Airy. Tip my hat to Dave and Inglis. Also, I want to say a big shout-out to Carol Matney for her donation, and to Paula Allen, who made a donation in honor of Douglas Allen. Thank you so much. And also, thanks to Mark and Darlene Davis, too, for their donation in honor of Lewis Davis. And then also we've got Larry and Beverly Hamilton, who made a wonderful donation as well. A lot of great people came, and we had a wonderful time out there, and we're going to do it again next year. And if you didn't have a chance to come by, get on Hope for the Warriors website and consider making a donation for this fine group. And next year, we're going to play it up a little bit bigger. We're going to give you some more lead time. I know this kind of came up sudden, but next year we're going to try to see if we can't break our own record year after year. All right, let's talk more about President-elect Trump and some of the things he's promised to do and what I think he may end up doing. One of the concerns I have is what I perceive to be is his approach in trying to level the playing field with our trade partners. I think one of the ways he wants to do that is by raising tariffs. History has proven that that's not a very good way to try to level the playing field. It ends up in a trade war, and it ends up into really nasty economic situations. It can wreak havoc with the world economies, the stock market in general. I believe that he will circle himself with advisors. I think Larry Kudlow is going to be one of his advisors. He is a huge free market supply side economist, and I think you're going to see Trump moderate his stance as far as putting tariffs on. I like his idea about taxes. It has been proven every single time it's been enacted. Lower taxes increase the economy, and in fact, they increase tax revenue. I've seen so many of these studies, especially coming out of the Democratic side, that said, well, if Trump's elected and he decreases the tax rates, that it's going to cause the deficit to go way up and so forth and so on. You know, the problem with those folks and the way they figure it is they use a stagnant calculation. They cannot understand how in a free market system, lower taxes will actually increase tax revenue over time because it stimulates and increases economic growth. You know, the last 8 years, this country has had awful economic growth. We have not had one quarter under President Obama's administration where we went over a 3% growth rate. That's just ridiculous for this country. I mean, we live in a country of entrepreneurs, of people who can make things happen, get up and get going. And for a 3% or less GDP rate for 8 years in a row, come on. This is absurd. You know, looking back at some of the things that Trump has got planned for us in terms of the economy, I think easily he can get this economy growing at 4 to 5% sustained. And if he does that, then you're going to see this 94 million Americans who are out of the workforce right now. I think you're going to see that reduced substantially. And what's that going to do? Well, number one, it's going to take a drain off the economy or the government, and it's going to put more tax revenue back into the government because they're going to be employed, fully employed again, at what hopefully is good paying, decent, solid jobs. Let's turn to dealings with some of our adversaries. He will definitely take a harder line with these folks. I think you're going to see this deal with Iran completely renegotiated. They're not going to like it one bit. And he's going to have to be tough with them because that's the only thing they understand is strength. And I think Trump will be tough with them. But in the long run, I think as far as keeping world peace, we can't have a nuclear-armed Iran. It just cannot happen. So I think you're going to see. I think you're going to see him work a solution, some kind of a solution out. ISIS is another thorn, and you know, I used to go. I guess I kind of stood up and applauded a little bit when he said we're going to bomb the hell out of them. But you know what? I think he will. I think you're going to see this ISIS thing put to bed probably sooner rather than later. And indeed, I hope it does happen. All right, if you just joined us, this is the Wealth Guardian Show, and today we're talking about President-elect Donald Trump and his administration and how that's going to impact the economy and our future. But, you know, retiring successfully today doesn't just happen by accident. It's more than just, you know, you saving and investing and putting money in a 401k plan. It actually, a successful retirement only happens if you have a plan. And it happens with a plan for how and when you claim your Social Security benefits. It happens with a plan for when you'll withdraw money from those accounts, those IRAs, those 401ks, and other retirement accounts. It happens with a plan to pay fewer taxes. And it happens with a plan to turn your savings and investments into an income workhorse while reducing the risk to your assets. Do you have that plan? Look, if you don't, it's time to get your first steps in order. Get our customized 5-point retirement master plan. Let me prove it to you. Let me prove how you can make the most out of every dollar you've saved for retirement. If you put away at least $100,000 for retirement, we can show you some little-known strategies that could help you make the very most out of every single dollar you've saved for retirement. I'm not going to charge you for this, and there's no obligation on your part to do business with us. I just want to have an opportunity to meet with you and put a written income plan in place for you. Maybe for some of you, it's the first one you've ever had done. So give us a call at 336-391-3409. That's 336-391-3409. You know, one of the things I remember Trump talking about in the campaign is he's talked about the bubble, the economic bubble, and I've talked to you about that many, many times on this program. And, you know, I don't envy him for being the president during this period of time because that bubble is going to pop. How it pops, I don't know. When it pops, I don't know. But, of course, the guy or gal who sits in the Oval Office when we have something like that happen is going to get the blame for it. Like I said when I opened the show up, it could be very similar to what Ronald Reagan went through the first couple years. I have a gut feeling that that's what we're going to see. We're going to have a couple years. The next couple years are going to be pretty rough. But after that, I think that opens up a ton of possibilities. I think this could lead to multi-year increases in economic growth. And, you know, we're going to make America great again. And I absolutely believe that's going to happen. Okay, with the last couple minutes left on the show, I want to get back to our charity event yesterday because it was such a huge success. I've got a few more shout-outs that I want to pay tribute to. I want to thank Ed Broyhill, who offered the building, the Broyhill offices and convention center in Clemens for us to have the event on the front lawn there. I want to thank Kristen Johnson, the Perfect Pair, owner of the Perfect Pair, her and Jenny for coordinating the event and pulling it all together for us. She's done some great work for us. She's done our Christmas parties and also our picnic for our clients in the past. Great work that they do. Again, I got to go back and I want to thank Rhino Sports and Brett Hickman for a donation and talk about what they do because they are event coordinators as well, but they do things a little bit differently in terms of they handle a lot of the ushering for some of the sporting events for colleges and some of the professional sports, and they like to offer those positions to our veterans. I think it's a wonderful way for a vet to earn a little bit of extra money and meet some people and see a really great sporting event. So if that interests you, if you're a veteran out there and you got some free time on your hand and you might like to turn that into some income and see a football game or a basketball game or something like that, I think Duke's going to have a pretty good team this year. You might want to talk to Rhino Sports and Brett Hickman. Go to their website. Just Google Rhino Sports. All right, here we are at the end of the show, and man, what a week it's been. My head is spinning. Honestly, I did not think Trump was going to win that election, but folks were fed up, and folks were angry, and they had a right to be. So let's hope and pray that Mr. Trump can come in, and if he can do half of what he said, I think we're on the right track. We're on the road to another decade of prosperity. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week right here on the Wealth Guardians, 94.5 WPTI, the Piedmont's News Talk and Sports Station.